Hello everybody, welcome back. This is part 19 of our Trumpeter 1/200 scale HMS Hood build. In part 18 we discovered the issue with the 4-inch ready use lockers when we were doing the backside of the shelter deck here. And today I want to just rectify that problem using a combination of the Pontos parts and the Trumpeter plastic as well. You'll recall that there's a shortfall in the Pontos set. They only provide 32 4-inch ready-use lockers, and we need 35 for a full complement, so we're going to have to make 3 spares up. So I'm going to get those done today in this video and hopefully get them fitted to the back side of the shelter deck. I'm not going to do the full complement today, I'll just do the ones for the number 3 guns on port and starboard side and the aft one in the centre line of the ship. So I'm going to need 15 lockers to be done for that, and I'll use 3 of the plastic ones amongst those 15. So we'll just have a look at the instructions to see where Pontos made the error with the numbers of ready use lockers, and then we'll go over to the bench and get the Pontos etched brass ones made up. And also do the conversion of the Trumpeter parts to make up the shortfall. Okay, so this is the sheet on the Pontos instructions that show us the locations of the ready use lockers, which is the green boxes here. And this is the area that we've got a bit of a problem with, that Pontos marked these 3 lockers for this number 3 starboard 4-inch gun, and actually this should be 5. So if we just have a look at the plans from the this is the Board of Inquiry plan, and you can see that there are these 2 here which correspond to these 2 here. There are 2 on the bulkhead, whereas Pontos only have the 1. And there is 1 underneath the quad platform, which is in this vicinity here. So we've a bulkhead one missing, and we've 1 missing on the quad platform. So that's what we need to correct. I originally thought that there was also 1 missing on the number 2 port mounting, because it's not a mirror image of the starboard one. You can see that there's this grouping of 3 for the starboard number 2, but there are only 2 here, so I assume that there must be another one in this vicinity here. But compared with the Board of Inquiry plan that I've got, they only show the 4 on that mounting, which just seems a bit peculiar. It's the only mounting with 4. The others have all got 5 lockers. Whether or not there wasn't enough space, this steam pinnace here does take up a lot of room, so maybe it was just not possible to get the 5th one in on that mounting. It's also confirmed in the John Roberts book as well, the anatomy of the ship, where we can see the 4 on the number 2 mounting here on the port side. And the anatomy of the ship book confirms the location of these 5 on the number 3 starboard mounting that we've got the problem with. So I'll deal with this shortfall definitely, and probably only fit the 4 on there. I've no evidence to say there were 5, even though it does sound a bit implausible. But there we go, that's the drawings that we've got. Okay, as you can see, I've made up a few of these lockers now, and I think I've found the best sequence to put them together after doing a dozen. And they are tricky, and it's really because of these latches that go around the outside. They tend to get in the way of the folding of the locker box itself, so they need to be bent out of the way. The second problem relates to these latches here. Pontos provide two sets of doors, so a solid or a continuous piece of etch here for all the doors in a closed position. And I suppose the intention is that you fold these latches up and try and get them through those 6 holes there in the door. I tried it once and it's virtually, well, I would say it is impossible. I don't know how anybody could thread 6 tiny latches through those holes like that. The alternative is to use these optional doors that Pontos provide, which are, I suppose, designed to be displayed open. And I had an idea that you might be able to fold the latches up and then push the single doors through using these little slots in the side. And I tried to do that, but I found it very difficult to get a neat result of the alignment of the doors. So I abandoned that idea as well. What I ended up doing was to position the doors on the carcass, if you like, and then solder the doors from the back of the etch here. It means that you lose these latches, but we'll have to replace those once the box is folded up. But at least that gives a nice flat and solid front to the box, and I just found it easier to do it that way. So we'll go ahead and do the next one like that. The critical thing with this is to make sure that the doors line up when you position the 2 pieces of etch. This flux paste actually helps hold the parts together and get them in the right position. So now I want to fold the back of the box up. But leave the front up in the air like that. And again, I'll just tack the back and sides together. So now I want to make sure that these latches are out of the way, and I want to bend them out and at 90 degrees. Okay, so they're out of the way now, and that will let us just fold the front of the locker up like so, and then I can use the latches at the top just to hold the front of the box down. So bend those into place and flatten them down, and the ones in the top corner as well. And then just go all the way around the sides and bring these latches in. The reason why we've had to bend them up and out of the way is so that these hinges at the side can fold down. If the latches are in the way, you can't get the front to sit down properly, so They are a bit of a nuisance really. I'd have liked to have seen these parts in resin. I think they would save an awful lot of trouble when you think you've got to build 35 of these. Getting some resin ones would save an awful lot of work. And the last thing to do is just to bend the hinges down at the sides. And we can give it a bit of a clean up. That's another one. One more to do. And now I want to make up the shortfall of the other 3 so that we can do the 15 for the mountings at the back of the shelter deck. So these are the trumpeter parts. It's just a back glued onto the front of the carcass. And I'm going to use these as the basis of detailing using the Pontos spare doors. So on the trumpeter parts we have 4 equal sized doors as opposed to the large and small doors on the Pontos parts. So I'll get rid of the detail on the front of the locker. Just give us a flat surface. Okay, they are very slightly too shallow, so I'm going to add a piece of card at the back just to give us the same depth. I think maybe just one layer of this sheet will be enough. I'll use some of this Tamiya quick setting glue to do that. This is new to me. I've never used the quick setting variety. I've generally just stuck to the extra thin. So I've put plenty on there and it'll just squeeze out of the sides a little bit. I'll just trim the spacer. So they're about equal. I'll just sand the spacer piece flush with the sides. So I'm after the 12 Pontos ones and 3 of the Trumpeter modified ones. I'll put the doors on now, and with these it's just a case of trying to get them nice and square. So I'll put the pair on together so we can line them up. Well, I'm a lucky man. My wife just brought me a lovely toasted tea cake just to keep me warm. So I'm rewarding myself for all this messing about with these lockers. Because I removed the central latches on these Pontos lockers, I want to replace them and The best thing I've found to do that is some spare railing. This is a bit of railing that's got bent. It's about the right gauge for these latches, and I'll cut a pair of latches and just fold them into a V shape so they look as though they're coming from the centre of the locker. And I've worked out they need to be about 3mm long. And I'm just going to put a little fold mark on them really, because I'll put them into a V shape and get them more or less lined up. They don't have to be perfect. I don't cut through them. So there they are, cut into a V. I'll just put a drop of medium super glue just on one side. Obviously you need somewhere to hold the part. And I'll just drop that over the centre of the hole here that's marked out on the Pontos part. I'm going to see the 3 new latches in the middle there. So you just need to do that for all the others. That's all the boxes made up now, or at least for the part of the shelter deck that we're working on. So I've added the central latches on the Pontos lockers. And for the Trumpeter lockers, which are these plastic ones, these are the Pontos doors, so that they match the fully etched brass ones. And I've added all the latches to these using the pieces of spare railing that I had. So that's Trumpeter railing from the kit. So they've come out pretty well. They're a fair match for the Pontos ones. We're going to get them sprayed up in some primer now, just to make sure that they compare, and then we can get them painted and fitted to the ship. These are the lockers all painted now, ready to go on the ship. I'm fairly happy with them. I think on balance I would have preferred to use the plastic Trumpeter parts, simply because they would look neater than this. On very close inspection, some of these do look a little bit rough. They're more detailed than the Trumpeter parts, but the finish is just hard to obtain on them. So they're just a bit fiddly really, I suppose. But they are accurate with the 2 size doors, whereas the Trumpeter doors are all the same. So on balance, I'm happy enough with them, and I think once they're on the ship they'll blend into the rest of the detailing, hopefully. It's very difficult to tell the difference between the wholly Pontos lockers and the Trumpeter ones, or at least the Trumpeter carcasses. This is one here, and that's one there. So these two are plastic with the Pontos facings and the scratch built latches on them. So using that very fine gauge wire from the railings, spare railings that I've got, gives us a similar sort of effect to the Pontos latches around the sides on this one, for example. So that's 15 done. There's another 20 of those to do for the forward 4-inch mountings, which I'm not looking forward to particularly, but I'll have a rest from them for a week or so and then come back to them later. In the meantime, we'll get over to the model and get these fitted. Right, I'll get the rest of these lockers fitted now. I've done the port side aft ones already. I'll get these starboard ones on now. And I'm just going to refer to the drawing here in the Anatomy of the Ship book to get these ones for this starboard number 3 mounting in the correct positions. This is where Pontos fell short on this position. There's a problem forward as well, but we'll come to that when we do the forward guns. There are 2 lockers missing at this point in the Pontos instructions, as I explained earlier on in the video. And to fix the lockers in place, I'm using an acrylic glue. This is Gator Grip. It's no longer available, unfortunately, but I'm assuming that most white glues will do a similar job. And I'm just going to glue these to the bulkheads where they do butt up to the bulkheads. So this last aft one on the pom-pom bandstand. This glue is pretty strong, even though it's only an acrylic glue. The next ones I'm going to do are the ones on the side of the after control position. So there's one just behind the door and one in front of this ladderway, and I'm hoping that they'll fit in. They'll look a bit tight to me. So before I commit to any glue, I'll just check them. And that's problematic. They're not going to fit. There's absolutely nothing you can do about that. The ladderway is in a fixed position, and obviously the door is as well. So Pontos just haven't made enough room there. The drawing does show the 2 lockers between the ladderway and the door, and I just can't make any more room there. See if I can find a photograph of this location. I'm just wondering if the lockers actually stood away from the bulkhead. We'll have to check that, I think. But I'll put the other ones in anyway. We have one that fits just underneath this quad pedestal, which I haven't done yet, but I'll just temporarily put the pedestal in place just so that I can check the fit of the locker. I think we might have some difficulties with the pedestal of the quad mounting when we come to fit it, because it doesn't look tall enough to go over the top of this particular locker. But I am certain that that's where it goes, so we might have to do a little bit of modification on the quad platform, so we'll see. So I just need to check out these last 2 on this wall just to see if they did actually stand away. I don't know if I've got a photograph of that, but I'll just do a bit of investigation before I attempt to glue them down. So this is the issue we've got with these ready-use lockers. We have this door. We have the door here and the ladderway here, fitted all in accordance with the Pontos instructions. The problem is that when we fit the ready-use lockers into place, there's only room for them to the aft of the locker, and it blocks the door doing that. So I posted a message on modelwarships.com, and actually one of my subscribers, Sean, got back to me and just reminded me that he'd already let me see some drawings, and it was from the Admiralty Board of Inquiry drawings, which details this area. Obviously, as I mentioned in the previous video, this was the area where the damage to the ship was done during the sinking. So the Board of Inquiry made a detailed drawing of this area, and it shows that the ready-use lockers were positioned to the forward side of this door, covering the porthole probably, but aft of this ladder here. They weren't standing off at all. I was wondering whether or not they were away from the bulkhead, something like that, which would still give access to both the ladder and the door, but they weren't. They were up tight against the bulkhead. So the solution that I'm going to have to come up with is to remove this ladder and move it forward slightly. It's going to have to go forward by, let's have a look, probably something like 3mm, something like that, in order to get these two lockers in the correct position. So it's going to have to come forward to about here. The problem with that as well is that I'm going to have to remove these railings and reposition them. It might be that this long one here goes on the aft side of the ladder and vice versa, so it'll just move the ladder forward a little bit. It might work, otherwise I'll just have to put some new railing on. I've got some spare from the Trumpeter kit, and also I've got some etched brass from my Bismarck Trumpeter etched that I'm not going to need because I've got the Pontos set for the Bismarck as well. So it's a bit of surgery, but I can't see another way of getting these lockers into the correct position. And it's obviously an area that Pontos really didn't get right at all, surprisingly, because, as I say, there are drawings available, and there was plenty of advice on modelwarships.com at the time when Pontos were developing the set. But anyway, it's not the end of the world. We can sort this out, I think. And the first thing we're going to have to do is remove this ladder. So hopefully it will just ping off without doing too much damage. Famous last words. It's not going to budge. And we're going to need to do a tiny bit of touching up probably as well, because we will scratch the paintwork, I dare say. That's the ladder removed. I'm going to have to clean that up a little bit. And as you can see, it's left a mark, but we'll cover that up. It won't be too bad. So the lockers will fit in against the bulkhead like that, and then I'll have to reposition the ladder slightly forward. It might be, actually, looking at these, that these lockers are slightly oversized. That might be the problem with them. So the ladder will have to go in this sort of position, and then that will fit in with the drawings that I've got of this area. As you remember from the beginning of the video, the Pontos parts only provide for one of these lockers, so it's not an issue. If you build it in accordance with the Pontos instructions, you don't have an issue with this, because the single locker fits in this sort of space. But obviously that's not correct, because we left them with only the 3 lockers that Pontos draw, which is this one, and this one. It doesn't show this one, so these are the 2 missing ones. So I'll take those railings off now, and we'll see about touching this area up and getting the ladder refitted. So those scraps of railing aren't going to be any good to us at all. So the next thing I'll do is come in and touch this area up a little bit. It just needs blowing in with a bit of the grey paint. I've also managed to knock off this side piece, so this whole area, really these rear screens just need doing again. Obviously with the difficulty I've got with the glue on these, but we've got a solution to that now. I can refit this ladder now using some thick super glue. Right, I just need to source a bit of railing now. Managed to find a couple of bits of railing that fit, or are a pretty good match anyway. Just put a bit of blue tack on that porthole. I just want to protect it, seeing as it's being glazed. Okay, so I think we can call that done. I'm pretty happy that that's come out like that. So there we go, leave it well alone now. Okay, so this is the correct configuration for this number 3 gun in terms of the ready use lockers. We've got the door visible at the side and the ladder way now reinstated, and this is the number 3 gun, or this will be the position of it when it's built up. This is just a dummy, one of the Trumpeter parts, one of the spares made up. So you can see how these 5 were used to work this mounting here. So that's all good. I want to just finish by putting the reels on that we built earlier on. I've already done this one here, as you can see. There's one here just in front of this 4-inch mounting, but I'm going to leave it off because of the difficulties we've got with this screen at the back. I'll just fit the reel 3 to the back, and then I think we can wrap this one up for today. Okay, so that's done with these aft lockers for the number 3 mountings and the after centerline mounting. So I've managed to resolve the issues with the placement in the Pontos instructions and made the spare ones up. I want to get this rear screen repaired next and refit the side bulkhead here. And I'm going to take advice from subscribers to the channel who've suggested that I use 2-part quick setting epoxy, 5-minute epoxy for this. So I'll give that a go and see if that's any better. I'm sure it will be. And then that'll allow me to complete the work on this part of the deck here. So I've made some reels up that I'm not happy to fit just yet until I've done this screen work. But I'll come back in a future part, either 20 or 21, to show you how those go together, the reels. There are 3 different types of reels on the shelter deck at this point. So they've all got different constructions. So I'll go through all of those. So that's it for part 19. A fairly short video this week, but we've just wanted to concentrate on those 4-inch lockers. In part 20, as I said, I'll get this screen repaired, and I'll do some more detailing further forward on the shelter deck around the funnel bases. So that'll be coming up next Friday. I hope you found this useful, particularly those of you that are building the model with the Pontos set, and I hope that the information about this ladder placement and this configuration of these lockers on the starboard side will just help you avoid a couple of pitfalls in that area. So that's it for 19. I'll see you next Friday for part 20. In the meantime, until then, stay safe everybody, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in 7 days. Bye for now.